My friend, listen closely, because what I am about to tell you has the power to shift the entire atmosphere of your life. There are moments when heaven leans low toward earth, moments when God decides now is the time. And I believe with all my heart that you are standing at the edge of such a moment. This message is not just another sermon. This is a divine announcement, a heavenly notification, a spiritual alert straight from the throne room of God. A life-changing win is on its way to you. Not a small blessing, not a regular breakthrough, but a massive destiny-shaping move of God that will touch your future, your family, your finances, your purpose, and even the desires you've kept hidden in your heart. If you feel tired, if you feel delayed, if you feel overlooked, then don't miss a single second of this message. Because what you call delay, God calls preparation. What you call silence, God calls strategy. And what you call struggle, heaven calls setup. Stay with me until the end, because you are about to understand why your win had to take time, how God is releasing it now, and what you must do to position yourself to receive it fully. Main speech 1. God has been working behind the scenes. There are seasons when nothing seems to move, nothing seems to change, and every prayer feels unanswered. But God is a God who works in the unseen. The roots grow before the tree rises. The foundation forms before the building appears. And in your life, God has been constructing something powerful, quietly, patiently, and perfectly. Your silent season was never a punishment, it was preparation. God builds your miracle before He reveals it. 2, faith creates an atmosphere for breakthrough. God responds to faith. Not perfect people, not strong people, faith-filled people. When you believe that God can shift your situation, you create an atmosphere for miracles. Your expectations are spiritual magnets that attract the supernatural. Lift your expectation today. Say it with your spirit. Something good is coming. Something big is coming. Something God-sized is coming. Your faith is opening the doors heaven is about to push wide open. Delay is not denial. Some of you have cried tears over things that were never lost. They were simply waiting for God's appointed time. When heaven schedules your win, no force on earth and no attack of darkness can delay it. God's timing is never late, it is precise. And when your appointed moment arrives, everything begins to shift in your favor. Instantly, unexpectedly, and powerfully. Your not yet is turning into a now. Your one day is turning into today. 4, your obedience activates your miracle. Many breakthroughs are waiting for your small step of faith. God doesn't always ask for something big. He asks for something simple, a change of attitude, a prayer of faith, a moment of worship, a choice to forgive, a seed of generosity, a step of courage. Obedience is the key that unlocks the door to your next level. Your miracle is not far. It's waiting on your yes. 5, the win God is sending will change everything. This next win is not ordinary. It carries restoration, favor, and acceleration. It will touch every corner of your life. God is not just giving you a blessing, He's giving you a turning point. When this win hits your life, the people who doubted you will be amazed. The situations that held you will break. The dreams you thought were dead will rise again. This is not just a blessing. This is a shift, a lifting, a divine upgrade. Conclusion, a life-changing win from God is approaching your life like a wave, strong, undeniable, unstoppable. You've cried long enough. You've waited long enough. You've struggled long enough. Now, prepare yourself. Position your heart, because heaven has already released it. And it's coming straight toward you. Your win, your breakthrough, your miracle is about to hit your life. There are moments in life when everything around you feels still, silent, and unmoving. You pray, but nothing shifts. You wait, but nothing appears. You hope, but your situation looks the same. And in those seasons, it becomes easy to wonder if God has forgotten you, if your prayers have been shelved, or if heaven has gone quiet. But the truth is far different from what your eyes see or your emotions feel. God is a master builder. And His greatest works often happen in the invisible places, behind the scenes, under the surface, and beyond your awareness. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean God is not moving. Just because you cannot hear His voice does not mean He is not speaking on your behalf. And just because nothing seems to be happening does not mean everything isn't being prepared. Think of a seed planted in the ground. Once it is buried, the environment around it falls into silence. No sound, no activity, no visible sign of life. But inside that darkness, a transformation is taking place. The seed is breaking open, roots are forming, foundations are developing. If someone looked at the soil during this time, they might say, nothing is happening here. But beneath the surface, everything is happening. That is exactly how God has been working in your life. Your silent season has not been empty, it's been strategic. God has been building roots before releasing the fruit. He has been preparing foundations before revealing blessings. The unseen work is the most important part of the miracle, because without the unseen, the visible can never last. Sometimes God hides His process to protect the promise. If He revealed everything too soon, the enemy would attack it prematurely. Or people with wrong motives would interfere, or you yourself might step into something you're not fully ready to carry. That is why God works quietly. He works in ways you don't notice. He arranges conversations you are not part of, aligns people you haven't met yet, prepares opportunities you haven't heard of, and softens hearts you didn't even know needed softening. You think nothing is happening, but heaven is in full operation on your behalf. There are angels moving on assignments connected to your destiny. There are doors being crafted at this very moment. Doors you will soon walk through effortlessly. There are connections being formed that will elevate you. There are blessings being wrapped with your name on them. God has been working in the hidden places because the win He is preparing for you is too big to be formed in public. Your next season requires a foundation that can carry the weight of what God is about to release. You must understand, before God reveals the miracle, He shapes the person who will receive the miracle. Before He brings you into the next level, He strengthens your spirit, matures your faith, and expands your capacity. Some of the stress, pressure, and stretching you felt wasn't the enemy attacking you, it was God enlarging you for what's coming. You cannot carry a massive win with a small mindset. You cannot walk into a new season with the strength of your old season. So God has been developing you privately. He lets the roots grow deep so the blessing can rise high. You may have wondered why certain opportunities closed, why certain people walked away, why certain plans didn't work out. These were not accidents. These were strategies. God was removing what couldn't stay, blocking what would harm you, and delaying what needed more time. What felt like rejection was actually protection. What felt like loss was actually redirection. And what felt like unanswered prayer was God preparing something far greater than what you asked for. In the silence, God has been aligning every detail. The timing, the resources, the relationships, the strength, the clarity, all of it has been maturing quietly. Just as a builder prepares every piece before the structure rises, God has been assembling the parts of your miracle. When it finally appears, it will seem sudden, but it was never sudden. It was divinely timed. All along, God was working behind the curtain. And soon, He will pull back the veil and reveal what He has crafted for you. You are not waiting for God. God has been waiting for everything to be perfectly aligned for you. You are closer than you think. What has been hidden is about to be revealed. What has been forming is about to manifest. The silence was not a sign of absence, it was a sign of construction. Heaven has been building something custom-made for your future. And when God decides that the unseen work is complete, He brings it into the light. Prepare yourself, because the same God who worked in the shadows is about to reveal a blessing that will shine in your life. Your roots are ready. Your foundation is strong. Your miracle is closer than ever. God's invisible work is about to become your visible breakthrough. Faith is not just a belief. It is an atmosphere, a climate, a spiritual environment where God's power becomes active. Many people think that miracles come randomly, like unexpected bursts of heavenly luck. But the truth is that miracles manifest where faith has prepared a place for them to land. Faith is the open door through which God enters the situations of your life. When your heart rises with expectation, when your spirit chooses to believe beyond what your eyes can see, something begins to shift in the spiritual realm. Heaven starts leaning toward you. Every great move of God begins with a simple decision, the decision to believe. Faith is not the absence of fear. It is the refusal to surrender to fear. Faith is not pretending the mountain is small. It is declaring that God is bigger. Faith is not denying reality. It is acknowledging a higher reality, the reality of God's Word. When you choose to expect good things from God, even in difficult circumstances, you create a spiritual climate where miracles can grow and breakthroughs can take root. Nothing activates the supernatural like faith. Nothing moves the hand of God like expectation. And nothing releases a life-changing wind faster than a heart that says, I know God can, I believe God will, and I trust God's timing. You must understand that faith is not just a feeling, it is a posture. It is the way your spirit stands even when your body is tired. It is the way your hope rises even when your mind is overwhelmed. And it is the way your heart holds on even when everything around you tells you to let go. Faith is warfare, and faith is victory. Faith is choosing to believe the promise over the problem, the prophecy over the pressure, the future over the fear. When you live with expectation, you become spiritually magnetic. You begin to attract divine opportunities, supernatural encounters, unusual favor, and heavenly breakthroughs. Some people live with only natural sight, and because of that, they only receive natural outcomes. But when you live by faith, you tap into spiritual sight. You begin to see with the eyes of the Spirit. You begin to sense what God is preparing even before it shows up. You walk differently, speak differently, think differently, and expect differently. And this expectation pulls the miracle into your reality. God responds to those who expect Him. When a heart is open, He fills it. When a spirit is stretched, He pours into it. When a believer prepares room, God steps in with power. Think about this. Expectation is not desperation. Expectation is confidence. It is the deep knowing that God has not brought you this far to leave you. It is the conviction that every prayer you prayed, every tear you cried, and every sacrifice you made is working together for something beautiful. Expectation lifts your head when life tries to bow it. It keeps you standing when circumstances try to break you. It makes your spirit whisper, any day now, God is going to turn this situation around. Faith does not only attract miracles, it prepares you for them. When you carry expectation, you begin to behave like someone who is about to be blessed. You start planning with confidence. You start speaking victory. You start removing things that don't belong in your next season. You start aligning your decisions with the miracle you believe is coming. You get ready because faith always prepares. When a woman is expecting a child, she prepares the room before the child arrives. In the same way, when you expect a win from God, you prepare your heart, your mindset, and your life for what is coming. Many people pray, but they do not expect. They ask God for a breakthrough, but they don't look for the breakthrough. They cry out for a miracle, but they don't prepare to receive it. They speak faith with their mouth, but worry with their mind. But true faith is consistent. It aligns your thoughts, your words, and your actions with what you believe God will do. Faith says, it hasn't happened yet, but I will act like it's on the way because I know my God. Every time you stay in expectation, you are building a spiritual landing strip for heaven's blessings. The enemy's greatest attack is not your circumstances. It is your expectation. If he can kill your expectation, he can block your miracle. If he can rob you of faith, he can stop your blessing. If he can fill your heart with doubt, he can keep you from seeing what God has already released. That is why your faith has been under attack. Not because God is far, but because your breakthrough is close. The enemy knows that a believer who expects God's power is unstoppable. A believer who wakes up every day saying, this could be the day my miracle arrives, becomes a dangerous force in the kingdom of God. Whatever you do, protect your faith. Guard your expectation. Keep your spirit open. Speak life over your situation. Declare the promise daily, because your expectation is announcing to heaven that you are ready. And when heaven hears the sound of faith, it responds. The atmosphere of faith is the birthplace of miracles. The wind that God is sending into your life is attracted to your belief. And as your expectation rises, so does the speed of your breakthrough. Prepare yourself, because your faith is creating the perfect environment for God's next move in your life. Your expectation is opening the door, and your miracle is drawing near. Delay is one of the most misunderstood seasons in a believer's life. When things take longer than expected, when prayers seem unanswered, when doors stay closed, and when breakthroughs feel postponed, the human heart begins to wonder, has God forgotten me? Did something go wrong? Did I miss my moment? But the truth is this: delay is not denial. Delay is often the clearest evidence that God is carefully structuring something greater than what you asked for. Delay means God is aligning details, preparing timing, and shaping you for what He has already planned. We often think God is slow because we measure time with our emotions, while God measures time with purpose. Heaven does not operate according to your clock. Heaven operates according to your calling. When God delays, it is never out of neglect, it is out of precision. You might be looking at your situation and saying, why is it taking so long? Meanwhile, God is looking at your future and saying, I love you too much to release this blessing before everything is in place. Delay is a sign of divine care, not divine distance. Many times, what you think is a delay is actually a shield. God is protecting you from timing that could harm you. A blessing released prematurely can become a burden. A door opened too early can expose you to attacks you are not ready to handle. God sees what you cannot see. He knows who is connected to your future, who needs to be removed, what needs to mature, and what must shift before your breakthrough arrives. What feels slow to you is strategic to God. There are moments when you pray for something, and God immediately begins rearranging situations, conversations, and circumstances. But the rearrangement takes time. Not because God is incapable, but because He is working with people, places, systems, and seasons. Sometimes He is waiting for a person to move. Sometimes He is waiting for a door to close so a better one can open. Sometimes He is waiting for you to grow into the person who can handle the blessing. And sometimes He is simply waiting for the perfect moment. That moment when the blessing will have the greatest impact and bring Him the greatest glory. If you received everything instantly, you would never develop patience, strength, endurance, or spiritual maturity. The delay is shaping you into someone who can carry the weight of destiny. You cannot build strong muscles without resistance. You cannot cultivate deep faith without waiting. You cannot develop character without going through seasons that press you. The delay is your spiritual gym. God is building something inside you that the miracle will require. Think of a child asking a parent for something they are not ready for. The parent says, not yet. Not because they don't want to bless the child, but because they love them enough to protect them. God's not yet is always wrapped in love. His timing is perfection. And when your appointed moment arrives, everything begins to accelerate. What took years will suddenly happen in days. What seemed locked will burst open. What you thought was lost will appear restored. In a single moment, God can do what your effort could not accomplish in a lifetime. Delay also teaches you to trust God beyond your understanding. It separates shallow faith from mature faith. Shallow faith believes as long as everything is fast and easy. Mature faith believes even when everything is slow and silent. People with shallow faith give up in delay. People with mature faith grow in delay. Delay reveals who trusts God's hand even when they cannot see His plan. Delay teaches you to say, I don't understand all things, but I trust the one who controls all things. You must also remember that God does not measure progress the way you do. You look for outward signs, God looks for inward readiness. You look for visible proof. God looks for spiritual alignment. You think nothing is moving. God sees everything shifting. While you are waiting, heaven is working. While you are hoping, angels are positioning. While you are praying, God is preparing. Do not judge your future based on the silence of today. There will come a moment when God says, now. And in that moment, delay will break. The blessing will flow. The breakthrough will manifest. What once felt impossible will begin to unfold naturally. The years you thought were wasted will suddenly make sense. Every tear will be redeemed. Every disappointment will become a doorway. Every closed chapter will reveal its purpose. When God's timing arrives, all the waiting will feel worth it. Delay is not denial, it is preparation. It is protection. It is positioning. And it is proof that God is working out something that requires more time, more alignment, and more maturity than you realize. Do not lose heart in the waiting. You are not late. You are not forgotten. You are not rejected. You are right on schedule for God's appointed time. And when that moment arrives, it will not be small, ordinary, or expected. It will be a life-changing win that only God could have orchestrated. Your delay is setting the stage for your destiny. Your not yet is about to become now. Obedience is one of the most powerful spiritual principles in the kingdom of God. It is simple, yet profound. Quiet, yet explosive. Many believers think that miracles come only through massive acts of faith, extraordinary sacrifices, or dramatic spiritual moments. But often, God releases the greatest breakthroughs through the smallest steps of obedience. A whisper you choose to follow, a nudge you refuse to ignore, a small act of faith that seems insignificant. These are the seeds that unlock the greatest harvests in your life. Obedience is not about understanding the full picture. It is about trusting the one who holds the picture. There are seasons when God asks you to take a step before you see the path, to obey before you understand, and to say yes before you know why. These moments are divine tests, sacred invitations into a deeper walk with Him. When you obey God in the small things, you demonstrate that you are ready for the big things. Obedience is a declaration that says, God, I trust you more than my feelings. I trust you more than my logic. I trust you more than my circumstances. And that trust opens doors that nothing else can. Sometimes the step God asks you to take seems so small, so ordinary, so simple that you are tempted to dismiss it. But God hides power in small instructions. Think about it. A simple act of forgiveness can unlock emotional healing. A humble apology can restore a broken relationship. A single prayer can shift the atmosphere of your home. A quiet decision to change your attitude can open the door to new opportunities. A small seed of generosity can release financial breakthroughs. A single moment of surrender can break years of spiritual dryness. Obedience is not measured by size. It is measured by willingness. You may not realize it, but every time you obey God, something shifts in the spiritual realm. Angels respond. Doors begin to open. Chains begin to break. Favor begins to move towards you. The supernatural aligns with your natural step. That is why the enemy fights your obedience more than anything else. He cannot stop God from blessing you, but he will attempt to stop you from positioning yourself to receive that blessing. He knows that one small act of obedience has the power to break years of delay, confusion, and stagnation. He knows your yes can release something heaven has been waiting to pour out. Obedience is not always easy. Sometimes it requires humility. Sometimes it requires patience. Sometimes it requires letting go of pride, fear, or comfort. But every act of obedience is an act of spiritual maturity. It shows that your heart is aligned with God's heart, your will is surrendered to His will, and your desires are willing to follow His direction. And when your heart is aligned with Him, heaven responds. You might not see the result immediately. You may obey God and wonder why nothing changed in the moment. But obedience is like planting a seed. The moment you plant it, something begins to happen beneath the ground. The soil shifts. The seed opens. The roots begin to grow. You don't see anything on the surface, but growth is taking place. In the same way, your obedience has already activated a process that you cannot see yet. God always honors obedience. It is impossible for you to obey God and not see a harvest. It may take time, but the harvest is guaranteed. Sometimes God asks you to obey Him in ways that stretch you. He may ask you to step out of a comfortable place, walk away from something familiar, stop something unhealthy, begin something new, or trust Him in a situation where you cannot see the outcome. These moments may feel uncomfortable, but they are also moments of divine setup. God stretches your faith because He is preparing you to carry something bigger. He takes you out of your comfort zone because your miracle is not located where your comfort is. It is located where your obedience leads you. You must understand this truth. Obedience positions you for the miracle that is already on its way. The win God has prepared for you is ready. But God often waits for your obedience to align with His timing. When your yes meets His now, miracles manifest. Breakthroughs activate. Doors open. Chains fall. What was delayed becomes released. What felt distant becomes possible. Your obedience pulls the miracle out of the spiritual realm and into your reality. There have been times in your life when you obeyed God without even realizing the impact of that obedience. You made a decision that protected you from future harm. You walked away from something that would have weakened your spirit. You chose faith over fear in a moment that shaped your destiny. Heaven noticed, God saw your willingness, and every act of obedience has been stored in heaven's record, waiting for the appointed time of reward. The breakthrough God is sending you is connected to the steps of obedience you take now. You don't need to move mountains. You just need to follow His voice. You don't need to understand the entire journey. You just need to take the next step. Your miracle is tied to your willingness to say yes. Yes when it's easy. Yes when it's hard. Yes when it doesn't make sense. Yes when your heart is trembling. Because one obedient step can shift the entire course of your life. Your obedience is the key God will use to unlock the door to your next level. The wind that is coming is not just a blessing. It is a reward for your sensitive spirit, your quiet sacrifices, and your willingness to trust God even when you didn't see results. Heaven has seen your yes, and heaven is about to respond. The step you take today will open the blessing you walk into tomorrow. Your obedience has activated the miracle that is now on its way to you. The wind that God is preparing for your life is not ordinary. It is not small, predictable, or familiar. It is a blessing of such magnitude that once it arrives, nothing in your life will remain the same. You have had victories before, but this one will be different. This wind carries a weight of divine purpose, a depth of spiritual significance, and a level of favor that will shift the direction of your future. When God sends a life-changing wind, it does not touch only one area. It begins to influence everything connected to you, your relationships, your mindset, your opportunities, your finances, your dreams, and even the atmosphere around your daily life begin to transform. This is the kind of wind heaven has prepared for you. Many people ask for blessings, but what God is sending is not just a blessing, it is a turning point. A moment in time that divides your story into before and after. Before the win, you survived, struggled, learned, waited, and hoped. After the win, you will step into clarity, movement, breakthrough, and purpose. There comes a time when God decides to elevate you, not because you are perfect, but because the season of preparation has reached completion. And when that moment comes, the win arrives with power. This win will not simply add something to your life. It will redefine your life. It will make sense of past pain, recover what was lost, and accelerate what was delayed. You may have felt stuck for years, but this win will bring a suddenness. The same God who allowed long seasons of waiting can turn everything around in an instant. The same God who seemed silent for months can speak one word that repositions your destiny. A life-changing win is a divine alignment. When heaven's timing, heaven's purpose, and your readiness meet in one powerful moment. This win will expose why you had to endure the battles you faced. The betrayals, disappointments, delays, losses, and unexpected detours were not random. They were necessary building blocks to prepare you for what God is about to release. You walked through darkness so you could appreciate the light. You walked through emptiness so you could handle fullness. You walked through closed doors so you could recognize the value of the doors God is about to open. This wind will bring understanding to confusion and closure to wounds that have lingered in your soul. This wind is not arriving quietly. It comes with a shift. The spiritual atmosphere around your life will begin to change. Where there were once obstacles, there will be pathways. Where there was once resistance, there will be favor. Where there was once stagnation, there will be acceleration. When God releases a major wind, invisible forces begin to move things into place. People who were not willing to help you before will suddenly become instruments of your blessing. Opportunities that were locked will be placed into your hands. Delayed promises will begin to rise again. Dreams that seemed dead will start breathing. Nothing is too hard for God. And when He moves, everything must respond. This wind will also silence the voices of doubt, your own doubts, the doubts of others, and the doubts planted by the enemy. There are people who saw you at your lowest, who assumed that was the end of your story. There are situations that tried to break you, hoping you would quit before your breakthrough, but when God releases this wind, it will become a public testimony of His faithfulness. Those who doubted you will be amazed. Those who questioned your journey will be silent. This wind will reveal that you were not forgotten, abandoned, or overlooked. You were being prepared for something greater. A life-changing wind carries restoration. Things you thought were permanently lost. Time, relationships, confidence, resources, passion. God knows how to restore. He can restore years in moments. He can restore strength in seconds. He can restore hope with a single encounter. Restoration is part of the win, because God never elevates you without first healing the places you've been wounded. This win will bring healing to deep places you never talked about, places only God understood. This win also carries acceleration. There are seasons when progress is slow. But when God steps into a situation, what once took years can happen in days. What you struggled to build on your own will multiply effortlessly when God breathes on it. Acceleration is a sign that God's hand is on your life, pushing you into destiny at a supernatural pace. You will find yourself walking into opportunities you didn't chase, receiving blessings you didn't expect, and stepping into rooms your name reached before you did. And this wind will not only bless you, it will bless those connected to you. When God elevates you, He uses your life as a channel of blessing to others. Your testimony will ignite faith in people around you. Your breakthrough will create courage in the hearts of others who are waiting for theirs. God will use your story as a blueprint of hope. You are not just about to receive something from God. You are about to be transformed by God. This wind marks the beginning of a new chapter, a chapter filled with grace, favor, influence, and divine momentum. You are stepping into a season where God Himself is fighting for you, opening for you, and pouring into you. And when this wind hits your life, you will look back and say, now I understand why the wait was necessary. Now I understand why the struggle was intense. It was because what God had for me was greater than what I imagined. A life-changing wind from God is not coming later. It is already on its way. It is closer than you think, more powerful than you expect, and more transformative than you can imagine. Prepare your heart, because your entire story is about to shift.